I'm Laura Blumenthal on the Berkshire Heroes podcast, and joining me today is Matthew Batten from the Supporters Trust at Reading, otherwise known as STAR. Welcome, Matthew.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me on.
Now, what does STAR do exactly? How does it support the Reading FC fans, and what does it do to strengthen relationships between the club and the local community?
Of course. So STAR's mission is to represent the interests of Reading FC supporters to the football club, to the media, and to the local community. So we are here to be a voice for the membership, in particular, equally beyond that, the wider fan base. We're there to be representation, trying to help ensure that their voice is being heard, and that we're embedded into items that are relevant and key for the fan base.
And how did you get involved with STAR, and what is your role?
So I'm currently deputy chair. I've been working with staff for, I believe this is year 3. Time has flown. I have a few different roles that I'm involved in. So I do some of the underlying bits, such as policy. I'm also the engagement lead for Reading Women, which has gone through a particularly difficult time in the last few years with their status removed from the WSL Championship and are now currently operating the lower tiers. Yeah, I got involved by being aware that there were annual elections to go on. It's democratically elected, and I felt I could be an additional voice to be able to help provide fan representation. And equally, as they were going through a changing time themselves, I thought I could bring some organisational leadership to them.
So have you been a Reading FC lifelong fan?
Lifelong, grew up on the terraces of Elm Park back in the very early 90s.
Amazing. I remember the first ever football match I went to was at the John Madacey Stadium back then, and saw a Royals game. I went with my uncle and my dad, and I just remember it so vividly with the atmosphere and just all of the culture. And it was, I mean, I was very young at the time, and I just remember it being so welcoming and exciting, even that age. So no, good to hear. And I'd really be interested to hear about what are some of the achievements that you're most proud of that Star have delivered for
Um,
fans.
Yep. So in the course of in the course of the last few months, I mean, we've been engaging as an organisation with the English Football League, trying to ensure that our voice is being heard throughout the current sale process that has been undertaken. As of when it says, with any luck, the club will have been sold, but currently at this stage, we are still undergoing. We've been engaging with the local members of parliament and other key football stakeholders in relation to the football governance bill. This has been a horrific time for Reading fans. There are so many other clubs that are currently undergoing the same pain. Morecambe, Swindon, so historic local rivals, Sheffield Wednesday and Blackburn at present. We've seen Bury go out of business. We do not want to see other clubs going through what we've gone through, and so we are trying to bring that fan voice and experience into what is happening at the moment to try to ensure that there are lessons learned from Reading FC. And alongside that, we've managed to continue engaging with the club and try and support them. Recent success was the trip that they had up to Shrewsbury. We, as a board, actually paid for the hotel for the team because funds are so tight at the moment. So I'd like to think that our membership have partly been involved in those 3 points. And we've managed to keep travel going for membership as well to be able to actually attend games. And we do put on coaches to the away games for fans to be able to attend. So keeping business as usual going alongside trying to be involved in the future of the club and the future of wider football.
And your communication's been very good with the wider community as well, because I don't consider myself a footy fan. I'll be really honest, but I do care about local heritage. And with the club first established in 1871, my goodness, what rich heritage it has. And so we're all trying to keep up with it. So it'll be good to hear. What is the latest, Matthew, on the football club's ownership? What's happening?
Yep. So as of this being recorded, we recently had a statement that came out to say the last period of exclusivity, which I think was the 7th one, had just ended, and we are currently moving forward at pace with an alternative buyer towards a sale. With any luck, there will be a sale completed by the time this airs. Um, we have a deadline of the 22nd of April, where we're waiting on an outcome from the English Football League as to what actions they are due to take, because the current owner, Dayonga, is suspended from being an owner. So he is required to divest or sell the club. So we are basically watching closely with that sale process in the hope that will have completed very soon and the club can continue trying to get into the playoff places. I mean, they're having a remarkable season given the circumstances that have been going on around us.
And how do you work with fan groups such as Sell Before We Die on issues such as this?
Yeah, so I mean, Sell Before We Die can probably be viewed as Star and Friends. The history of it came around in the summer of 2023 when we were already trying to work closer with different fan groups such as Elm Park Royals, the Tireless End, and Club 1871 to try to ensure we had a medium of voices as well as individual fans. And there was a moment of, we should probably do something. This is looking bad. And that's how Sell Before We Die came to be formed. So it was a collective of us alongside Proud Royals at the beginning, um, who have basically taken a view of, you know what, we need to start trying to do something to encourage a change of ownership. Star do have a veto on certain elements. I mean, basically anyone in the campaign could do. But it's come together really naturally. I mean, we're really lucky to have a diverse set of groups that have different strengths, but being able to come together and ultimately form a campaign that has had some incredible media coverage. We've had some direct impact on what has been happening at the club. We've had a strong voice to hold the club to account. And at the same time, we've had an impact, I believe, in some elements of wider football.
And what went wrong really here, Matthew? Was it simply that the English Football League didn't do proper due diligence on Die Younger? What do you think the core problem was here?
It's the owner. Um, I mean, there's a bit of disinformation out there in relation to his ownership. The EFL have been very clear that as of when he took over, he had a clear source of funding, which he did through what was then Renhe. And the two other clubs that he owned were still operating and alive. So the family were involved in KSV Roeselare out in Belgium, which is no more. And equally Beijing Renhe, which I believe became Beijing Chengfeng before it stopped existing, out in China. And equally, they no longer exist. The two clubs have gone, but as of the point where he entered the club, he had clear source of funds, clear evidence of that, and was involved in football clubs that were operating. Um, Circumstances have seemingly changed. So the owner is caught up in considerable amounts of litigation overseas. He appears to be in a very difficult position out there in relation to some of his legal status. Reading seemingly isn't the number one priority for the owner, and he's gone from having come in, spent a lot of money really badly. I mean, at the end of the day, we have thrown millions at things that just you would not do if you were a sensibly organised club. But there have been voices and others who've been providing advice that's not suited our needs. And as of around when we got relegated, either the owner has lost interest or his financial circumstances have changed. But he's been continuing to own the club and not seen a sale process complete in over 500 days. So for us, we know the circumstances are either he is not willing to or cannot fund us, but he's still not sold us. So we need that to happen. And ultimately, the English Football League have now reached a stage to say, you know what, he can be disqualified because he does have specific defaults against him overseas. But it's taken them a very long time to be able to get to that position of saying he must be forced to be sold. So he must, that the owner must sell the club. And that has led to the position we're currently at. So it's unknown exactly what his rationale is behind it, but ultimately no one has been able to do anything to be able to make it happen. And we've seen so many clubs suffer. We've seen clubs go out of existence. This needs to be looked at and reviewed, and hopefully a football governance bill is one thing that allows us to get onto a better footing because, as you say, you started going to games when you were young, you went along, you saw the community around it. It's the same that's gripped me. Football is the highlight or low light of an amazing day with my friends. with some of my family, and it's a community, and that's what we all go for at the end of the day. So we hope we can keep that alive, and we hope we can help other clubs keep that alive as well.
So essentially, when Dayunga was allowed to be owner of Reading FC, he looked fine. He didn't look dodgy. There wasn't really anything the EFL could have really done differently.
At the beginning, I mean, there was allegedly supposed to have been enhanced financial checks that took place that there's no evidence of. That is a question that the EFL I get to answer as to why they didn't do this. Um, there was too much money spent too fast. I mean, ultimately, it was irresponsible. We were not complying with financial fair play. So if there was enhanced financial monitoring taking place, that should have been checked and stopped at the start. Um, what he does with his own money ultimately is his own business, but he spent it terribly. There was no strategy in place. There was seemingly agent influence that we were being led to make transfers that were huge sums of money at huge wages that were not necessarily what the club needed. But that's his prerogative. Ultimately, these were, a level of profile. They're not necessarily what we needed. So money has been spent, but money's been spent badly. That's football. Clubs do that.
And what is your view of this new potential football regulator? Do you think it will help, or do you think it might distract from doing just good old-fashioned due diligence?
Due diligence hasn't worked, ultimately. Um, when you look at the way in which the English Football League operate, it's a one and done system. An owner comes in, they're checked at the beginning, and then they can do whatever they want. I am an advocate of the Football Governance Bill. There are elements to that which include, for example, a form of licensing. That does mean that there is a way of holding to account. There are additional levers that could be done to make a divestment happen in the event that a sale is required. Anything that can potentially stop these historic clubs from going out of business, I think is worth a try. And I've seen so far a history of failings in keeping clubs alive or from the brink of existence. So yeah, we're huge advocates over at Star.
Matthew, this must have been an absolute emotional roller coaster for you personally. There must have been so many opportunities where you thought this could go so right, but obviously so many lows where it could just be going so wrong. What has that been like for you?
I think emotional roller coaster is the right term. I mean, for us, we've had some real highs, some of the nice bits that we've managed to do. Seeing, say, a women's team as being rebuilt. We've had when that went in the first place, withdrawn from the championship. One of the real examples of roller coaster would be when there was a saga in relation to Bearwood, which is the training ground for Reading Football Club. Um, Rob Couig was the owner of Wickham at the time. It was reported that a deal had been struck for him to purchase the training ground. And for us from Supporters Trust and from the campaign, it was a massive gut punch. We had to take the evening to just reflect on where we were, regroup in the morning and go, okay, right, what can we do about this? What can we look to do by members of the trust engaging with some of the local politicians? What could we do through engaging the local council to find out whether there was any leverage there? To go through land registry to find out all the technicalities behind things, whether we could block anything, to rally fans. Like you have moments where it's just almost indescribable, where you feel like the club is, at the end, and then you have to be there going, well, okay, how can we pull people together and do what we can do to get through this, and how can we regroup, and how can we go again? And it's just been one thing after another for the last few years. I mean, thankfully, it's looking like a sale is hopefully going to complete in the near future, but we have all of the assets of the club at this point. I mean, that's not the end. When a new owner comes in, regardless of who it is, we as a fan base are more aware of the risks that can come in, of what asset stripping can do, of the importance of having the academy that has kept this club alive. And somehow in the playoffs, this late in the season, despite how it's been off the pitch. So going forward, we will very much be, astute and aware as to how we may need to hold a club owner to account, and recognizing that there will always be some off the field things going on, and that we need to try to recognize them and try to be in a position of actually, securing the future of this club and helping it flourish. And hopefully we have an owner coming in who wishes to work with the trust and hear those fan voices, and we can be there going, this is what the history of Reading is. This is what is important to Reading. This is the foundations of this community club. This is what we are as an entity, and that we can work with them to actually help them build value, which will help them be able to generate, generate hopefully a club that can grow and that they will be able to, at some point in future, recoup a profit on. I mean, there's not many ways to make a profit in football. They do say the best way to become a millionaire is start a billionaire. Um, but with any luck, we'd be able to actually build a good relationship where the fan voice is fundamental to be that sounding board for a new owner coming in. And yeah, we've had such a roller coaster coming through. With any luck, we're at the end of it. But inevitably, there'll be one in future. And I think we're in a good place to be able to navigate through whatever is thrown at us.
And I know this whole issue has taken up all of your time, but is there anything else at Star that you're focusing on that you're really proud of or that you know needs more focus on?
I mean, we're proud that we have been trying to support the club in keeping going. As I say, there are a few things that we have done where we have provided them with some funding, trying to help them keep specific bits of maintenance that they are required to do. That we've managed to support them for the Shrewsbury game. The fact we've actually been able to be a part of keeping the club alive has been huge. And I'm particularly proud that we've actually just managed to keep the business as usual going. We've been working with our friends over at the Disabled Sports Association, looking to help them try to get into a position of stability as they grow. I'm really proud of the work that the Reading FC Community Trust have done to, in effect, build a women's team from scratch over the course of last summer and to keep them in the tier that they are operating in, because the entity that was in the Women's Super League for years and the Championship just before we were withdrawn no longer exists. A team had to be built from scratch by the Community Trust to keep that alive. That has been tough, and we've been trying to support them on that journey. Really proud of that, and really hope that we can see the women's team grow and flourish in future. It's going to take time, but really hoping we can keep that going. It's a growing part of English football. We hope to be part of it. And as well as just keeping our business as usual going, actually being able to provide travel to get fans to get to games. It's something that not all trusts do, but we're really proud that we can offer a service such as that.
And is Star completely fan funded?
Star is completely funded from our membership, yes. So we are a community benefit society that is democratically elected. We have subscription fees from members, and we have income that comes through from the coach services we provide. That is how we do all of the community donations that we provide, how we're able to put the coaches on. All of our stuff comes through from membership subscriptions and travel.
It's hugely generous of you to put so much of that money towards supporting the club, which shows your commitment. It would be good to hear, what is it you're focusing on right now, and how can people find Star online?
So our focus at the moment is on seeing the sale complete, ultimately. We know that Rob Couig is a person who is believed to be in exclusivity, and we're hoping, to use a reference to your pod, that he can be the Berkshire hero to get rid of the Berkshire villain. If people wish to be contacting us, and we are really, really keen to, be there for Reading fans. Ultimately, we are a collective voice that is stronger by having people part of this with us. Our website is star-reading.org, or you can just Google Supporters Trust at Reading and it comes up as a top entry. We're also available over on Facebook and X.
And is the club really good at involving you in all the key meetings and keeping you on top of everything that you need to be?
Being entirely honest, the last couple of years have been not the usual times. We do have a particular set of meetings that we have with them. So we have structured dialogue. We have we have meetings with them to do with the strategy and direction. So the overarching, we have meetings about particular issues that need to be addressed, such as issues to do with stadium that need basically representation for issues that are currently happening in the club. We've always managed to stick to those. In these present times, we've been operating in a different way. We've probably had more contact with the seniors at the club than we've ever had, but it's been predominantly from different angles. But equally, if there is an issue, we are directly in contact with them. We have the roots and relationship to do that. One particular example was that there was a particularly foul smell in Club 1871 that was dominating for a while. And we were able to make sure that was reported into the club. They were able to identify the issue and able to get that resolved very quickly. And we know the fans are very, very, very pleased to know that it's slightly nicer, more pleasant being in the stadium at the moment. But we're there to raise issues in that sort of way to actually improve the quality of experience for our fans.
And do you need more volunteers to help you bring their skills to support what you're trying to achieve?
I mean, we are a democratically elected organisation. We have elections every summer going on. Really keen for people who wish to be part of it. Please put themselves forward. The more people that come forward, the stronger that we can be. And equally, volunteers, yes, we have a range of different things that we would love to be able to do that require hands to be able to do it or specific skills. If you think you've got things you can add, please be in contact with us. Say, go to the website, email addresses are all on there. Information, info@star-reading.org is the email. Drop us a line, please.
I'd also say that your X account is brilliant for keeping people up to date with what's happening. So I definitely follow that and I'd recommend people to do the same. Thank you, Matthew Batten, for joining me on the Berkshire Heroes podcast. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Have a great day.